I think all Ohioans get as much information as they can before they vote.
Any one particular point you think that you made that may have sunk in tonight?
Well, hopefully we made that this is important to put the taxpayers at the table. This bill is all about leveling the playing field between government workers and the taxpayers who pay them. It's about maintaining the dignity, keeping more policemen and firefighters on the job. That's what this bill is all about from our perspective. We're having choices that we don't like. All of the choices are bad. Do we lay off firefighters and policemen and teachers? Or do we raise taxes? Or do we say we're not going to offer other services that the citizens need? That's the discussion, and it's brought to us because of the economic situation we're in. Ohioans can't pay more. They're tapped out.
The governor has repeatedly said that the other side is emotional and that your side is factual. Are there any facts that maybe we're overlooking or maybe facts you want to drive home?
Well, I think we've talked about that. The biggest parts of this bill keep collective bargaining intact. Remember, collective bargaining is a creature of state statute. It was created by the legislature, and in this bill we specifically retain collective bargaining for wages, hours, and terms and conditions. We even allow them to collectively bargain over safety equipment. What we say they can't collectively bargain is to pay less than 15% for the cost of their health care, or to not pay their 10% employee share towards their guaranteed lifetime pension. That's not unreasonable. That's what this bill's all about.
Do you think if this doesn't go through, as numbers are showing right now, that there may be portions of this that you'll reintroduce?
Well, Ohio's in trouble, and my guess is we're going to have to figure out ways to make Ohio work. Whether this passes or whether it doesn't pass, we're going to have to continue to work to figure out ways to make Ohio better for Ohioans. And that's for my kids and your kids. As I mentioned in the debate, to me, with my 4-year-old and 6-year-old, I want to do everything I can to make sure they can call Ohio home, and I don't have to take 2 airplane rides to go see my grandkids.
How do you think this went tonight, and do you think, given the numbers we're seeing, whether this might be any minds that might be changed tonight might be too little too late?
Well, I certainly think that anyone who was watching tonight saw a great presentation of the facts by Senator Faber. Keith did a great job of laying out the facts as he just explained. This is about Ohio taxpayers. This is about trying to make sure that we can ensure their future by asking for reasonable reforms. We're asking for the government union employees to pay 15% of their health care. We're asking them to pay 10% of their pension benefits. I would think most people in the private sector would love to have that sort of a deal. So hopefully anyone watching had a good presentation of the facts, and I feel good about our chances.
Okay. If you look at the polls, they seem to indicate that voters, even though they seem to be polling against Senate Bill 5, support portions of it. Are you prepared in the Senate to move forward with separate legislation if this fails next month?
Well, I think Senator Faber spoke to that. I mean, the issues that drove the necessity of having Senate Bill 5 or Issue 2 haven't changed. You know, we're on an unsustainable path. We cannot continue paying the cost at the local government level or at the state level. So those fundamental factors have not changed. And so while we have not prepared anything at this point, I would have to say, given the fact that the situation will remain exactly the same on November 10th, then we certainly have an obligation to the voters and the residents of Ohio to find a way to make sure that we can ensure the continuation of local government services in the state of Ohio in a reasonable way.
One of the things that I always like to add to this, and having had discussion with the other side now through the debate process on a number of occasions, I always ask them, what's their plan? If this doesn't happen, what do you want to do for Ohio? And I haven't heard any ideas other than raising taxes. Now, I did have a conversation in one of the debates with one member who said, you know, if you guys did just some of the things that we might be able to agree on, well, he didn't commit that he was going to co-sponsor those bills. So I can tell you we're going to sit down and continue to work. When this passes, we're going to continue to work and figure out ways, hopefully together with the other side, that we can work through the bill, just like we tried in this case, and they rejected us. We'll continue to try and work whether or not this bill passes to try and move Ohio forward.
Senator Faber, I just asked Jack Will with the Fire Department, Columbus Fire, about trusting the fire chief. You were talking about the deciding person in an impasse would be the fire chief, and he said, no, that's not in Senate Bill 5. That's not what would happen if an impasse would go through. It would be an elected official.
Right. If I said that, I misstated. What happens in an impasse is that the elected official who is responsible to the voters gets to make that decision, but they can continue to negotiate. Ultimately, we want fire chiefs to make decisions about things like staffing, and the other side wants this minimum staffing requirement. Fire chiefs ought to be making those decisions, not having a one-size-fits-all rule.
But in an impasse, it would ultimately be the elected official.
At the impasse, ultimately the elected official who's responsible to the taxpayers for the level of services and how they're going to pay for it makes that decision under the current bill.